Okay, what kind of kid is not obsessed with dinosaurs at one point? I know I was, being that little hyper-fixating goober. When it came to dinosaur movies back in my day, you were a tad limited in what you could watch. There were good ones like The Land Before Time, and terrible ones like, well, The Land Before Time. Also, that one Fantasia short, the one where they all deaded. It was pretty neat. There was also another weird one, We're Back, A Dinosaur Story. I swear, I don't know what the weirdest part of this movie is. The fact that cereal is what made the dinosaurs smart, the fact that the Triceratops like hot dogs, or the fact that this is somehow a Thanksgiving movie. But let's take a nostalgia trip and see how this held up, shall we? And just a heads up, everything in this video is just my personal opinion, but if you have a different opinion than me, that's fantastic, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. With that out of the way, let's get started.
Roll back the rock to the dawn of time when Earth was smoking and the lava flowed.
We're Back, A Dinosaur Story is based on a children's book of the same name and produced by Steven Spielberg's animation studio in order to capitalize on the dinosaur craze that started in the 1960s. This film was due to be released in the same year as Spielberg's other dinosaur movie, Jurassic Park, being Spielberg's attempt to get his foot in the door as a more family-friendly dinosaur film to capitalize on. He even threw Rex in the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade for marketing that year, and his balloon popped on a traffic light, which is ironic considering what happens in the movie. But did this actually take off? Judging by the $20 million budget with a $9.3 million earning in the box office, it doesn't seem like it was a success as hoped. What went wrong? Well, let's take a look at the movie itself first.
Roll back the rock to the dawn of time. You can blow your cool just like a volcano.
If you want the short story, basically a scientist brings 4 dinosaurs to the present day in order to bring joy to the children of the world. They become friends with 2 kids, and hijinks ensue as they avoid the scientist's evil brother and make their way to the Museum of Natural History. If you want to skip the detailed summary, go ahead and skip to the time on screen, otherwise go ahead and keep watching. We start off the story with a baby bird deciding to leave the nest because he's bullied by his nestmates, especially for being a mama's boy. He comes across Rex, who is playing golf, and tells him that he was going to run away to join the circus. This reminds Rex of a story, which technically starts millions of years ago, where the scientist Professor New Eyes gives him and 3 other dinosaurs his cereal brain grain, giving them sentience. Man, you gotta give my guy credit. He built a time machine just to extend his marketing demographic. He also gives them all names: Rex, Elsa, Dweeb, and Woog. So you give 2 of them normal names, 1 an insult, and 1 the sound that you make when you stub your toe. That seems fair. He shows them his dream radio that detects the wishes of children around the world. He ignores the ones with real issues and just focuses on the wishes of children to see dinosaurs, cause that's much easier to solve. He tells the dinosaurs his plan to take them to Dr. Julia Bleeb, who will take them to the Museum of Natural History in order to bring happiness to the children by letting them see real dinosaurs. He also tells them to avoid his brother, Professor Screw Eyes, who apparently lost his mind after losing his eyeball. I mean, someone would have to be insane in order to replace their eye with a screw, right? So, knowing all this, he's going to take the dinosaurs straight to Dr. Bleeb with how important it is for them to avoid his brother and avoid the general public in order to not cause panic, right? Actually, he just yeets him into the Hudson River. Real helpful, my guy. We eventually get introduced to 2 new characters: Louie, a wise guy kid with Tood who is running away to join the circus, and Cecilia, a rich girl whose parents are never home, so she decides to follow Louie to the circus. Louie agrees to take the dinosaurs to the Museum of Natural History, since it's right next to the park where the circus is. Of course, since they are traveling through New York, they keep missing Dr. Bleeb. It's kind of the running gag of the movie. Louie decides it would be a terrible idea for them to just go waltzing around New York, so the dinosaurs pretend to be animatronics in the parade, while Louie and Cecilia ride a float in order to get closer to Central Park. The crowd probably doesn't suspect anything, but I'm sure the parade officials are shitting themselves right now at the random dinosaur quote-unquote animatronics that are now in the parade. But Rex, after hearing the kids wishing that the dinosaurs were real, decides to break into a song, is a bit sussy with the Spider-Man balloon, and accidentally pops another balloon, believing it to be a real dinosaur. This completely blows their cover. Oh hey look, a Jurassic Park promotion. The police tell the dinosaurs they're under arrest for existing, I guess, and a chase scene ensues that separates the dinosaurs from the kids. Of course, they manage to lose the police, but they see a poster for the circus Louie wants to go to. Alarmingly, it's Screw-Eye's horror-themed eccentric circus, so they realize that the kids are in danger. Meanwhile, Louie and Cecilia are approaching Screw-Eye to join his circus. Celia at this point is like, look, this guy's sus, let's go. But when Louie signs a contract like an idiot, with a blood ritual, goddamn, Cecilia decides to go with him. The dinosaurs come by to take the kids home, but they're too late because of the contract. Curse you, legal obligations! Screw-Eyes reveals his inventions, basically copying his brother's stuff, having a radio that hears people's fears instead of wishes, and having brain drain pills that de-evolve someone instead of making them smarter. His plan is to de-evolve the dinosaurs so they would become monsters, knowing that that's what scares people the most according to his little radio thingamajig. He activates his trap card by making them accept the brain drain by telling them that he will only let the kids go from the contract and restore them back to humans if they agree to his terms, which they reluctantly do so. The next morning, they talk to one of Screw-Eye's clowns named Stubbs, who informs Louie and Cecilia of Screw-Eye's plan. The children want to free the dinosaurs and convince Stubbs to sneak them into the show. We see a scary circus that's lamer than most children's haunted houses, and then we see what happened to the dinosaurs. Oh no, they're not all cartoony anymore. Screw-Eye's act of hypnotizing Rex goes according to plan at first, but then the hypnotism is broken, and now the de-evolved Rex tries to eat Screw-Eyes. But luckily, this isn't Jurassic Park, so Louie is able to run up and talk Rex out of trying to eat the old geezer, restoring his sentience as well. New Eyes decides to finally show his face again, about time. Stubbs resigns his appointment from Screw-Eyes, and New Eyes takes the kids and the dinosaurs, leaving Screw-Eyes to his demise. New Eyes takes them to the museum where the dinosaurs are going to live the rest of their lives. Pretty depressing existence, honestly. Rex and Elsa become romantically involved, and so do Louie and Cecilia. The movie closes as Rex finishes telling his story to the bird that I honestly forgot about until now. The bird goes back to his mom and tells his nestmates to F off, and Rex goes back to the museum. This story is equal parts basic and weird, but I'm gonna go into some elements a bit deeper before I give my final thoughts on it.
Snap your fingers and stomp your feet, soaking up a little of the jungle beat.
The characters in this movie are generally pretty half-baked and cliché. Most of them only have a maybe one personality trait. Of course, there's the 4 dinosaurs. Rex is voiced by John Goodman and is just kind of a nice guy who wants to help out his friends. Basically every John Goodman character. He's a bit of a less characterized Sully from Monsters, Inc., but kids are still gonna love him. It's John Goodman. Elsa is sassy and flirty, and that's pretty much how far her character goes other than having a crush on Rex. Dweeb and Woog kind of fall more into the background. Woog just likes food, and Dweeb is, well, dumb. Lily and Cecilia are both based on tropes and cliches. Cecilia is of course the poor rich girl with poor rich girl problems, complete with a family that's never around. Other than that, she's just kinda nice and polite and follows Louie anywhere. Louie is a tough kid with a New York accent that wants to run away to the circus, but he is a softie deep down. He's also pretty cliched. Vorb is just kind of the weird alien thing that helps Professor New Eyes. New Eyes is just kind of the nice and mysterious professor character. Dr. Bleep is a bit ditzy, but nice. And Stubbs the Clown is someone who works at Screw-Eye's eccentric circus of horror, but wants to make people laugh instead of being scared. Not sure how he got a job there, but whatever. Everyone's personality here is pretty much just being nice. Then there's Screw-Eyes. He likes to look at people's greatest fears, is manipulative and cruel. He isn't super original, but he works for the film. Though his character has led to people accusing this movie of ableism, since his path into becoming evil was actually caused by the loss of his eye. The bird characters are all just kind of there, being more of a plot device for Rex's narration, and you forget that they're there until the end of the movie. This cast of characters is fine, but there's not really many things that are memorable enough for the characters to actually stick out.
Roll back the rock to the dawn of time and sing this song with me.
I kind of feel like this movie has a little bit of a pacing issue, mostly in the fact that this movie doesn't like to sit still for too long. And still moments are just as important as action scenes in a film, as that's where characterization, suspense, and emotion actually comes in. A lot of quieter scenes are cut short, or scenes that should be quiet are instead just absolutely crazy. When the dinosaurs are trying to take in the sights of New York, Rex falls off the docks and needs saving. When Louie's flying around New York on Elsa's back, it should have moments of awe, but instead the whole flight is filled with Louie almost falling off Elsa, or Elsa nearly flying into stuff. It kind of shows a lack of confidence in the writing and characters, and instead thinks that they should focus on constant movement, that or it's a bunch of padding in order to make the movie actually reach the theatrical time, which really won't entertain anyone other than young kids. This leads to the characters being half-baked, and aspects like the romances between Louis and Cecilia and Rex and Elsa to feel rushed and a little bit more tropey than actually real. And of course the romance has led to me hearing,
Been meaning to talk to you, Rex.
About what, Elsa?
The way you look at me, it makes me want to, lay an egg.
yeah, I think I'll bleach my eardrums now after hearing that. The only fully quiet and truly effective scene is Screw-Eye's death. It is truly creepy and shows Screw-Eye being devoured by his fears. There isn't much sound other than from Screw-Eye and the crows flapping their wings, giving it a really eerie atmosphere.
Brother, wait. When I am alone, when I have no one to scare, I get very frightened myself. The crows could...
It almost feels like a writer just really wanted to write this scene in particular, and then they had to write the rest of the movie around it.
Roll back the rock. Turn back the clock.
What's funny is that Disney was originally going to purchase the rights to turn this book into a movie, but Universal Studios and Spielberg had already purchased the rights to it before they could. Now, the original book was only 20 pages long and didn't have much of a plot or antagonist, which definitely explains a lot when trying to convert it to a theatrical release. The script had gone for a few drafts, the first two writers' screenwrite was turned down altogether. The final guy who was hired to make the screenwrite, John Patrick Shanley, made at least 2 drafts. The first one was much darker, which I wish we could have seen, but unfortunately one of the directors, Phil Nebelink, did not agree with the darker tone. I guess that explains the scene with Screw-Eye's demise. Hudson Talbot, the creator of the book, did not have much involvement with the creation of the movie. Unfortunately, he was unhappy that the screenplay did not have any of the book's tongue-in-cheek humor. When a test screening was conducted, it was not well received at all, resulting in $1 million worth of alterations needing to be made to the movie, which includes the addition of the Macy's parade scene. There was even heads being butted while recording the lines. The voice actors in Nibelink thought Shanley's dialogue was a bit unnatural and tried to change a few lines while recording. However, since Shanley did not approve these changes, they kept the recordings of his original dialogue in the final film. I wish we could have seen the improvised lines since I do agree with the unnatural dialogue aspect, but oh well, c'est la vie.
Roll back the rock to the dawn of time and sing this song with me.
There's a few things that contributed to the failure of this movie financially. Of course, the issues with the film don't help. If a movie isn't that great, people aren't gonna go watch it. A man named Stephen Hewlett even argued that this film, along with many others in this time period, had low performances due to a lack of focus on plot in a story-driven medium like animation, which I could definitely see his point. Though, of course, they had bad luck from Mother Nature at this point as well, as snowstorms and odd weather patterns were running across the country during its opening weekend, resulting in the film box office getting affected overall. And at this time period, the Walt Disney Company was a giant when it came to animation in the box office. They were extremely hard to compete with, and Disney's movies were commercial successes, while the other animated films in this time period typically had disappointing numbers. But for some movies, it may have been a quality issue on top of the competition issue. So the opening weekend for We're Back was just a disaster from the get-go.
Back the clock, baby, you can see why the 20th century appeals to me.
Spielberg might have struck gold with Jurassic Park, but unfortunately he wasn't as lucky with We're Back. We do get a lot of good voice talents in here, like the voice actors for Rex and Professor New Eyes, and the animation is pretty decent too. The bright colors, movement, and characters will possibly appeal to really young kids in the moment. However, anyone older probably won't find anything appealing in this, other than maybe making fun of the weirdness in the movie. Hell, even when I was younger and I watched this film, I preferred the first Land Before Time over this. The characters unfortunately are aren't super memorable and are based more on tropes and cliches. There's only a couple super effective scenes, and elements of the story are a bit rushed, and a lot of the dialogue is kinda unnatural. Go ahead and show this to any young kids if you have any that like dinosaurs, or you can watch it to kind of reminisce on old nostalgic memories without cringing your way all the way to the Cooper belt. Otherwise, just like the dinosaurs, this movie hasn't really stood the test of time.
Roll back the rock to the dawn of time and sing this song with me.
And that was We're Back, a dinosaur story. Please don't tell me I was the only one who watched this when I was younger. If you did see it, let me know how your thoughts of it as a kid hold up versus now. If you did like this video, be sure to click on that subscribe button and that little ringy-ding-ding thing next to it. Until next time, this is Dance Macabre, signing off. Bye!